actually, if you read that first portion, it's a choice of habits define us. What are your good habits? What are your bad habits? What are your smart habits? Your lazy habits? What are the things that you do in such a manner that you wish you could change, or you'd like to change?
Wow.
So, even our choice of habits and how we choose to approach people or listen to people. What about the habit that you choose to talk to yourself? And what do you say to yourself most of the time?
Okay.
Are you encouraging yourself? Is that a habit to encourage yourself? Or is your habit to talk yourself down? Talk yourself out of things. Talk yourself into seeing that the glass is half empty, not half full.
Okay.
Those are all habits.
Yeah, those are all habits.
And if they are good, then great. If they're bad, then it's time to change.
Right. We all have bad habits.
And one of them is excuses. We usually have an excuse for everything.
We do.
Correct. Either my excuse that I had to break the habit of saying to someone the reason I couldn't do something or wouldn't do something because it was by choice. So I can't blame it on the traffic. I can't blame it on the weather. I had a choice to check what the weather was. I had a choice to think maybe I ought to start a little early because the traffic may be backed up. I had a choice to go to the restroom before getting into traffic. Now I gotta pee. I ain't got nowhere to go. Excuses. Well, think of that. When we were kids and we would wait till the last minute, and then we'd be hopping around like a rabbit.
That depends on where you're from. Where I'm from, they had a Coke bottle or a can or something, especially when you're in the car. It made
That's a bad habit.
That's a real bad habit. But hey,
But it worked for us boys.
You know what? They were prepared though.
It worked for us boys.
They prepared. I remember them old days back in the country.
I'm from the country too.
Yeah, if you had some country life, you remember those habits.
I think sometimes my system is designed based on the fact that I lived in the country and we had an outhouse.
I hated that thing.
And I didn't want to go.
Don't talk about the outhouse because I didn't go.
We was up in,
Especially at night.
yeah.
I wasn't going out there either. They were mad at me.
So back to habits.
Let's see what the next one would be. Oh, okay. Your super connected habits. Oh, this.
We got a couple of ones that are very interesting. I like the multitasking. That's gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
People tell me they can multitask. I'm just learning on this one. Says, hey, you shouldn't try to do that. But some people
Not
think they're
everybody
perfected.
can do that well.
I find men can do it less than women. Do you believe in that? That men are less able to multitask than women? Or do you think it's equally?
I mean, I've heard that been said.
Have you experienced it or
lot.
seen it?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
100%. And I don't know if y'all can do it or you just don't.
No, we have a single-minded focus, and in most cases, now there are guys that are exceptions to the rule, but we have single-minded focus, and we can do those things very, very well, singly focused. But when you multitask, you have the, and of course it talks about it in what we're going to be talking about today. To be able to do, you end up doing a few things okay instead of one thing great.
Yeah.
And that's why I am like that. I find myself, I can do one thing. If I stay on top of it, I'm great at that. If I'm trying to do a lot, I'll get by it, but I can see my faults.
Well, it's like that first paragraph says under multitasking.
Yeah, this is.
Because only 2% can do it really well. And it is something that you have to practice. But I believe, in my teachings, you can only do about 7 things well that's in your universe of doing things. Because every time you add something else that you're going to do, that just stretches out your time, your thinking. So if I'm going to add something new, then I'm going to have to drop something
Yeah.
But most people keep adding and adding and adding
which
until they get overwhelmed.
Then they start dropping stuff off.
Oh no, they start dropping off for them because people don't want to even trust them anymore because they can't fulfill their promises.
And it will make you procrastinate.
Right.
Because you will get stuck trying to do so many things, and you will tend to do the easiest thing that has the least amount of productivity.
Exactly.
And they should have so many classes in school then. You gotta take how many classes? You gotta, in high school you have like what, 7 classes you have to attend to, 7 classes you have to do work for, homework, and
The number 7 in the Bible means
Completion. Absolutely.
so when you get to more than 7,
It's gonna be incomplete.
that's gonna be
It's
incomplete,
Yeah.
not completion. But the reason, in my opinion, for that class structure is to make or help make us more dependent on talking. One, two, three. Hello. Welcome to Mastermind Wisdom Table Talk, live at 5. I have several great hosts here with me. 2 of them are mastermind trainees, and the third one is going to be a mastermind. My name is Chrisalorus Jackson. I am your Mastermind Wisdom Coach and your host. My co-hosts will be introducing themselves just in a few moments. I want to welcome the folks that have already joined us live. Kate, Nicole, Michael, Donald, welcome. And let your friends know. We have a great show planned today.
Absolutely.
I'm going to let my co-hosts and our special guests introduce themselves and tell you what they do before we get into what we do. But we're going to talk about bad habits. And I know none of you have bad habits.
I do.
I just know you don't.
Gonna be a great discussion.
So,
we all have bad habits.
Yes, we do.
So I'm going to start with our guest. Let her introduce herself and tell you what she does. And I'm going to make her come to the mic so that y'all can hear us. And if you can't hear us, please type it in and let us know. Hey, Dorothy. And I hope you got your husband with you so that you can get some of this good stuff. Charles, welcome. Olivia, Miss Wortham. I got Wortherly. Got that. Go ahead, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Leslie LaBar, and so I do a couple things. One thing I do is I am a child protective services worker. I'm a faith-based specialist, and what that means is that I go around the community, the faith community, and different church organizations and church congregations, and I speak to them about ways they can get involved with child protective services. And on the way they can get involved, I can tell you about that a little bit later, but there's a few things that you can do to get involved. But just to be a resource in the community for our families, for our children, build bridges, make connections, and to be a support system for our families who are involved in the welfare system.
So you work for who?
I work for Child Protective Services.
Okay. And for you particularly, how do we get a hold of you?
Well, you can give me a call. My telephone number is 832-454-7283, which is the best way to get a hold of me. You can find us on the internet. We have a website online, the Department of Family and Protective Services. You can go on there and look at all the many different departments there are. If you want to get involved, you can go online and check how to become a foster parent, how to become an adoptive parent, and just different ways you can get involved with volunteering and other things that may be on your heart as you want to serve our children and families. The second thing I do, I'm also an employee. I work for my family business, which is All Type Insurance and Financial Services. So you can also contact me if you would like to get any type of insurance. We do it all, life, health, dental, auto, homeowners. So however, if you have any of those needs.
Awesome. Welcome.
Lisa?
And my name is Lisa Jenkins. I'm with Why Not Legacy Group, a co-host of this show and a mastermind wisdom trainee. And what we do here, we have a service where you can come in and rent the office. You come in, rent it for meetings, workshop, conferences. And you can contact us at 832-441-9317. And I also have a business called Why Not Legacy Group. Why not leave a legacy for your children's children?
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, everyone. Happy holidays to everyone. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas. My name is Larry Richardson. My background is I'm a 25-year plus financial services, insurance specialist for senior market. Also, I've been on the board, past president of the Insurance and Financial Advisor for the San Jacinto chapter. Also past board member of the NAACP Young Adults, where we mentor young men and women in that process, and past board member of the Homeowner Association Houston chapter. You can contact me at area code 832-867-5038. That's area code 832-867-5038. And of course, as the new year begins, you may want a review on your present program or update on what you presently have in your financial portfolio. We do that as a free service to our audience. You can contact me at any time and we can schedule an appointment. Thank you for being a part of our program this evening, and back over to our own Mr. Chrisalorus Jackson.
One of the few people that can get my name right.
Yeah. I had many years of practice. We go back a long way.
Welcome, Derek. Welcome, Julian. Our topic today, again, is bad habits that you must immediately break to improve your life in the next 100 days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, some of us need to break habits a lot sooner.
like yesterday.
Like today.
Can we do it yesterday?
According to our walk alone sheet, it says our choice of habits define us.
Agreed.
And I'm going to ask you guys to comment on that in a minute. And nothing sabotages our creativity and our productivity in our life quite like continuing to choose bad habits. Now again, I'm going to say this. I know y'all don't have no bad habits. None of us here have any bad habits. Yeah. Oh, was that a...
Cross my finger, put it behind my
Right,
back.
we all have, I have my legs crossed and my fingers crossed on the side. I don't have any bad habits.
Well, I remember when Chris called me and said, we got a subject. I said, Chris said, I got the program this day. I said, oh no, what's the subject matter? And he says, oh, it's about bad habits. I'm on my way. I got in the car and said, I need to cover that real fast. Yes, sir.
So let's talk about our choices, how they define us. Do you feel that people look at you with a certain expectation based on some of the habits you have displayed? Let me be a little bit more clear. If you're always late, or if you're always early, or if you're always prepared, or you're unprepared, or do you come in smiling, always cheerful, because being cheerful can be a habit.
Yeah.
It is.
Being optimistic can be a habit.
Right.
Being pessimistic definitely is a habit that we need to break. So how do you think people, well, let me change that. How do you see you? How do you see you?
Well, I think for myself, my habits are pretty much very loyal and consistent, and so people expect for me to be consistent, whether that's in their lives or in their children's lives. But if you call me, you need something, you reach out to me, I'm usually always there, always, present to help. So I definitely feel like I have a habit of being there when someone needs me to be there.
You think that's helped you in your job?
Oh, 100%. My job is very demanding. Somebody's always needing something. Somebody's always in need, or stressed, or just don't have enough. And so it's my job to go out to the community and seek these resources for them, in order to fill needs. That's actually one part of my job. They'll come to me with requests, on paperwork, and say, hey, we have a request, we have a need for X, Y, and Z, whether that's a crib or a car seat. And I go and I'm going to 100% do what I need to do to go make that happen.
Oh, that's
Wow.
good.
Awesome.
That's great.
Awesome.
They need that.
Lisa, how about you?
Well, I don't have no bad habits. No.
So,
course
so
not.
you don't have a bad habit of not having a bad habit.
That's a habit.
Okay. Yes, I do. I work on my habits daily. I do have bad habits. But you have to first recognize that you do have a bad habit, right?
Absolutely.
Once you recognize, you can change it. So I'm not going to list my bad habits. That's one thing I do. We're going to move on. However, this is the year of changing lives, changing things. So this year, when I made my commitment last year to change each bad habit into a good habit, I was late a lot. So I decided to leave early so I wouldn't be late. That's one habit I changed.
Good for you.
So
Good for you.
yeah.
That's great. Now, for myself, habits. Well, we talked about, of course, this specific subject is those bad habits, but when we talk about habits as we see ourselves, my biggest habit is having and I agree with this and have had it for all my life, that I've always had a habit of an attitude of gratitude. Just being gracious for what God has given me every morning, with devotion. I'm always waking up with I feel, hopefully, a positive attitude, but I also have some idiosyncrasies, some things that are not there. Procrastination is a bad habit, and I've recognized in my situation procrastination. I know we're going to get to that in some of this subject matter for today, and what I'm doing to break that bad habit. So the habit of an attitude of gratitude starts in the mind. It starts with your consciousness, and then from there, then actions are taken based on those habits.
You just said something that is actually in our notes.
Mm-hmm.
It says to live a balanced, productive, creative, and fulfilling life.
Mm-hmm.
Choosing to rid yourself of your unproductive habits is an important investment. A lot of times we don't invest in those things. My godson Derek says a product of their behaviors, actions, and decisions. We all are a product of our behavior.
Yes.
Certainly our actions are part of what I like to say is our character,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
because people do judge us. And in your business where people depend on you and you have to deliver,
Yeah.
in our business where people depend on us and we have to deliver from an insurance standpoint,
Right.
they all have a human element to them. And how we choose to behave during our practices, our work, our development of good habits. And one of those for us is returning people's calls. And we return calls when we don't want to return calls. But if you don't return folks' calls, whether they're upset or they're happy, we don't know until we pick up the phone. But we have an idea. We know that there's a need. We know that we need to fulfill that need. And I think for us sometimes, we have a habit of thinking the worst, that when somebody calls us, rather than thinking of it as a gift and a joy for service. So changing a bad habit can sometimes mean changing your mindset to think that I'm going to do some good on this next call, this next appointment. Whatever I'm doing, I want it to be of worth, good joy.
Yeah.
Derek says, could people risk becoming legends in their own minds due to a lack of external feedback? Can people choose to be legends in their own minds? Too many of us, I think, have a false belief of ourselves. Now, if you've charted yourself, if you consistently, and I think you're a great example of trying to do the best for people, you know that, and trying to help other people do good for other people, that I don't think so much of you would be a legend. But I think, Derek, the idea is to create that legend in other people's mind. Because just like any white knight, we can't always deliver. But when we give our best, you can be legendary for giving your best, for doing your best. And when you can't perform the way you think you should, or even the other person thinks that you should have, when you know you've done your best, when you know that legend, Derek, in my mind would be, I know that I've done my best.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bad legend to myself if I've not done my best. For most of us, we feel bad when we let people down.
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%.
And to improve upon that, we try not to let folks down. And then, of course, you've got to train yourself not to be sympathetic, be more empathetic when you're trying to help folks.
Well, one of the things I was thinking of, and not with the legend part, but we said habits. Habits are created over a period of time. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't get a bad habit overnight. You don't create good habits overnight. In fact, I was reading here in our point, and it was just saying Samuel Johnson said that the chain of habits are too weak to be felt until they're too strong to be broken.
That's powerful.
And when you think about that, that's how habits are developed. Yeah, good and or bad. And unfortunately, our opinions of ourselves are formed in that same manner. Good or bad, whether we are legends in our own mind or failures in our own mind. It depends on what you think of, and it starts, like I said before, I've been reading a little bit about the, might say, procrastination side. It starts with the conscious, then it develops into your emotions, and then it becomes a behavior. And the only way you're going to change habits is first starting right up here at the top of your mind, getting it into your commitment of emotions and making the change, and then putting some action behind it, which is your behavior. And just as he said before, people develop those legends in their own mind based on their good habits and or their bad habits. And I like what he said, but it's done over a period of time. It's not done immediately.
And one of the other ways we Derek asked, simply, people may be one way through their world lens, but different to others. How do you close that gap? One of the things we have to do is recognize where are those memories stored. Our subconscious is responsible for 99.4% of what we do, how we act, because it all comes from there. Mm-hmm. Our conscious mind is less than 1% of what we do every day, because we see it and we go.
Right.
But our subconscious mind is recording everything that happens, even the good stuff.
Right.
Now, if you constantly are telling yourself that you are, we were talking about a club, we won't name that club, but we had a discussion about images of how we see ourselves.
Right.
And if you constantly are living in the past, how much of the future are you really dealing with? Because all of that is stored in our subconscious. And I said to you, because of your work, I was going to ask you a question about how habits are formed in all of us. It's happened to all of us. How habits are formed in us based on some things that happened to us in our past. And like young people that are on watching us now, you've all had some bad habits. You all had some things happen to you that created a habit.
That happens all the time.
Whether it's how you look at the world, or how you look at yourself, or how you look at other people, how you choose to behave. And sometimes we have to break those bad habits of thinking negatively about ourselves.
Well, I think a lot of those habits may form early, like even, right out of the womb. And you don't realize it, like you were saying, Larry, because that's just the way you grew up. That's just the way things were done in your house.
Exactly.
So you develop certain patterns.
Exactly.
And then those become certain habits, and that's just the way you do things. And then you grow up and now you're an adult. So now you've been doing this you've been acting this way, behaving this way for 30 years,
Right.
30 plus
Oh,
years.
right,
And now all of a sudden it's like the light bulb goes off and you're like, I'm supposed to be doing something different.
Right.
This shouldn't look like this.
Right.
So now you have to retrain your mind to be something, to do something else, to think different.
Wow. That's powerful.
It's about training
That's
because it doesn't happen overnight once you think about it. Oh, I need to change.
Right.
Because how long did it take for you to start being on time? It takes some time, right?
Right. It take, like they say, you can change a habit within 30 to 60 days, but you just have to keep working on it. I work on it daily.
Yeah.
Habits have to change daily, but I'm working on it daily. So in order to change, and then we've been talking about this all along for the last 6 weeks, talking about our past, present, and future. And we talked about living in our past and the things that happened in our past, how it affects our present now, where we pick up bad habits as a children. I have a new grandson. He's 1 year old. Now he recognizes if he cry, his mom is going to give him something. So
he's developed some habits.
Yeah, so he's developing habits, whether
Right.
they're good or bad. You have to train a child when they're young, at 1 year old, 2 years old, and then they will grow up to be different. They will. So we have to get back to the old ways of discipline our children, because I know a lot of kids are not learning from the home because the parents don't know, because they didn't learn. So that goes to the past. It's like a generational curse. Do you see that when you're working with
Oh, it's majority of my cases are like that families child is in welfare system, or their child is in foster care, but that mom or that dad has been in foster care and they only know how to live the way their parents taught them, and their parents only knew how to treat them from the way their parents. So you can go back some generations and find where someone in their family had been in foster care at some point in time, and so these habits were already developed and they were passed down, and now you have this situation, and we go in to try to change thinking and change those habits. And I can be honest and say that not all of them happen when you're young. You do pick up habits along the way as an adult, and that may be based on if you don't think you have certain options.
Right.
You don't, like we were talking about earlier, if you don't think you have certain boundaries, if you don't make certain boundaries.
Right.
I mean, it's not always as a child.
Right.
We can't put everything on our parents, right? Because we have to make a decision at some point.
So the environment affects it also?
100%.
Well, I like a lot of things what you just said, which is so true, and even in our syllabus here, it says about people though killing the excuses, and some of the excuses. I want to just read off a few of them that people may say. You may not say it as a child, but you may have definitely heard it as an adult. What about the "I'm too tired," "I don't have time," "I'm not capable," someone else will do it, "It's too late," "It's not the right time," "I'm not that talented," I'm not ready yet," I'm too scared. You know, people say, wait, you want to get on this show tonight? Well, I'm too scared to do that. I've never done that before. Nobody will help me. What if I fail?
That's a powerful one.
What
You
if
might
I
need to
fail?
stay there for a minute.
Well, let me go with this one. Don't feel motivated. I'd rather do nothing. I don't have the money.
Yet.
Yet. Those are bigger excuses, and you know, people make those excuses up, and these are some of the things we use as a reason for not developing good habits. And just as you said
We're
before,
going to talk about it. Let me just say hello to these folks.
oh, go right ahead.
Amy,
Hi.
Annette, Paul. Let's see. We've got Ian Wagner, Rock, Ella, Hale, J Joy, Kathy. Not Kathy Richardson.
That's okay. She'll be on short. And she's probably on mine. Okay.
Darrell. Welcome. Everybody.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, everybody.
Let's talk about some of these things that kill excuses. The things that are excuses that kill that become a habit.
Right.
That keep us from doing things. Now, you each one of you had a favorite. What was your favorite?
We went back to it.
Yours. At least.
What if I fail?
What if I
What was it? What if I fail? Okay.
And everybody has that fear. It goes in your mind every time you're trying something new, or every time you're doing something on your job that you don't want to do, or you feel that people are looking at you, they're judging you. Then you think, well, what if I fail at doing this? Instead of just releasing and thinking that you can. Now that's a habit. You know, you have to keep telling yourself and redoing your mindset to not fail. And it came from me a long time ago when I just bring him up again. Mr. Hollins is one that taught us these Think and Grow Rich and these books to where it changed your thinking, because I had this, I always say, I say stinky thinking.
Yeah,
But,
that's a good.
you know, I've always had that feeling of failure years ago. I felt like I would fail. So that kept me at a certain level, but then when I knew what I know now, there's no failure.
No, there is not.
Only failure is in the mind and what you think you can fail in.
All the only failure is the mind is, but if you don't try in
Well,
the beginning of it.
And I think that all goes into the one that says about fear. Like all those are lumped in together. We don't make certain choices because of the fear that we have.
Exactly.
So we can't get a different outcome.
So do you know the acronym of fear?
I would, no, I don't.
False evidence appearing real.
That's
Mhm.
it. That's it.
So the question then would be, what if I succeed? Because we said we're talking about what if I fail, but there's fear in succeeding.
That's true.
A lot of people will have that excuse, what if I fail, because they're afraid of succeeding. What if I do, what will I do if I do make it? How do I handle that success?
More money, more problems.
More money, no problem. Yeah.
So, did anybody have another one that you like here?
Let me reiterate on that fear aspect of it too. When you're looking at positive thinking and you're doing a lot of reading, and specifically programs like this, that we can change our mind, we can change our thinking. One aspect of it, if most people read, the most successful people in the world fail
Yes,
over and over again. You know, there was a guy who said, it was a story that a guy started up that was a chemist, and he was making what we call soft drinks and everything, and he tried this first drink, and it was 7-1, and nobody liked it. It had a funny taste to it, so he tried a 7-2, and it kind of was right on it, but it wasn't sweet enough, and he tried a 7-3, a 7-4, a 7-5, and he gave up at the 7-6, and he just said, this is not going to work. I've tried so many times, and he sold his little formula to this next guy that was a chemist also. And he said, well, you need a little bit more, few changes. And the next thing, when the chemist has changed it, and he put it on the market where it became one of the biggest sellers in the world. It was called the 7-Up.
Wow.
And it wasn't because he was afraid to fail. It's just he kept. You find more people succeed if they continue to fail and they learn what not to do next and
That's
become
true.
successful.
Would you agree that most of us are just one failure away from success?
Absolutely, I agree, 100%. We all are one failure away from absolute success.
And that's
Just gotta
something
try.
that we were taught as young salesmen early. You keep knocking, you keep
Oh, yeah.
asking until you get to that yes.
Till you get to the yes.
And for those of you that are not salespersons, but yet have a habit of giving up too soon,
Absolutely.
That's a habit.
that's a habit.
That's a
A
habit.
bad habit. We want to distinguish the difference between the two.
So
That's
we
a
want to
bad
make a
habit.
choice to change those habits that
Absolutely.
are destructive to us, that are excuses for us.
Correct.
Let me say hello to Daryl, Kathy. I think I've said hello to you guys. So
Hello
I'll just
again.
hello again. Let's
Hello
just
again.
make sure. Any of the other excuse killers that you like on here? While you guys look, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about.
I don't have the money.
You
Yeah.
don't have the money.
Yeah.
Wow.
He
That's
said
a good
yeah.
one.
I like
Most
it.
people
always-
think that they need that fund, that startup fund, to
Mhm.
do something or launch their business. So, oh, I don't have the money. I don't have investors.
Mhm.
I don't even have an elevator pitch to an investor to try to get some money. So, I mean, that could be a big
Hindrance.
deter. Yeah.
Well, and is that a habit, an excuse to not move forward, not having the money?
A lot of the times, yes.
A lot of people.
Or is it, I don't have the self-confidence to go find sources of that?
Right.
So I'll just tell myself, I ain't got it. I want to do it, but I don't have to do it because I ain't got it.
Because it's definitely a belief that you don't have the options that you don't realize you have.
So what I heard you say was you lock yourself into
Sure,
that little
100%.
cage.
Yeah, and it's invisible. It's the
Right.
cage of your mind because you don't go out there and start even researching about how you can get certain resources to get what you need.
I told you you're going to become a mastermind. I told you.
Doing well, doing well.
Any others that you have under excuse killers? You were talking about how children learn habits as they grow older. You know, when children, as babies, cry, they don't know why they're crying, but there is something uncomfortable going on with them, hungry or wet, and they begin to associate crying with getting things. And as they grow older, because we will give them things so that we think they want or need,
Correct.
and as they grow older and become more strong of mind, they realize I can't talk, but I can cry.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
we will try to figure out what that little
Why are you
rascal,
crying?
so we can shut him up. So we just start offering them stuff.
You figure out which one is where you
Which
want
one
to
it
go.
is you want.
It's going to quiet you down. Huh?
And then when we get to a point as children, as babies, that I have a choice, and you can't figure out what it is, then they'll start pushing that away. I don't want that. You know, I don't want juice. I don't want water. I don't want soda. I want ice cream. But
Right.
you don't know that
Right.
because I've tasted that ice cream at one time. And it ain't among any of these because I recognize it when I see it.
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to cry until you figure it out. And that becomes a habit as they grow older. So how many of you have taken your child to the supermarket and they have just showed out because they know
Wow.
they're going to get something because they showed out at home. And we didn't help them to break that habit.
Exactly.
Now, I have a story about my youngest son, who is now 35. But he would throw tantrums to get stuff. And one day, we were in the kitchen and he was throwing a tantrum. He was on the floor kicking and turning circles. So I walked over to the sink, got a cup of cold water, and went back and poured it in his face. And he sat up. He said, "This ain't gonna work, because I'm not gonna get doused all the time." I helped him to break that habit. Now, I think it was you, Lisa, mentioned about discipline our children. There is a proper way to discipline children, and spankings are not always the correct way. And I tell my 2 older boys that as a parent, I practiced on them, because I did to them what my parents did to me. Let's get this whooping on. If I promise it to you, I gotta give it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Follow through.
Follow through. But when I came to the baby, I learned that by explanation of choosing not to do, now even though he couldn't talk, he understood the dousing of water in the face. I didn't pop him on his legs. I didn't jerk him up, like I would have done. Now, this is back in the old days, y'all.
He's not committing to anything right now.
This is before CPS. Okay? Don't be calling up.
Don't call me.
Don't call her, you're right.
And report.
Remember, you got this all on tape. I think we got enough now.
I know we recording.
All right.
But there is some limits.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned, and that's in a child's development, but one of the things we hear as an adult quite often, and that's in a lot of our senses, which are considered a habit, good habit or bad habit, because we're going to talk about this, and it's, I don't have the time. We hear that a lot, especially in our own schedules, and I have to get out of that habit, is because we schedule our time, we monitor our time, and we control our time. So when you don't have the time, it's based on priority, what's important. And that starts again back to the mental state of your mind in the beginning of the day when you organize yourself, you organize your situation, you put priorities in perspective, and based on that is how you determine your time and what you have time for. But we hear, I don't have, you can, hey man, I don't have time, I'm already running, I've already got, my schedule is full. And that can be a habit of missing what I call opportunities. If you don't have your priorities straight.
I like that, and I want to take that to another level.
Right here.
And that's number 2 on our cheat sheet, is when folks say they don't have the time, and the question is, what do you have time for? Because you can find time to be on your phone, which is never far away from us.
Absolutely.
You can be on your emails, you can be on your Twitter, you can be on your Facebook, you can be on your LinkedIn. Now, they got some others out there. I have no idea what they all are. Instagram,
Snapchat.
Slapchat.
No.
No Slapchat?
Not yet. Not yet, that is.
Well, unless you admit it. Do you have time?
Do you have time? So the question becomes, then, what do you have time for?
Absolutely.
Oh, is it powerful enough for you or to you to find the time?
Sure.
You mentioned, you didn't say these words, but what you find valuable, what you put value into. And I'm one of those that will tell you that you find time for the things that are important to you.
Absolutely. That's true. Absolutely.
But it is a habit for us to get on our devices when we should be spending that time more productively. Now, if it's your job, part of your job, to be on Twitter or email or LinkedIn or to use your phone, then so also well and good. But when you start to take those things home, when, there was a time we would write somebody's number down, there was just text it to me. text me the directions, text me the weather, text me how old your dead dog is. We just get in the habit of doing things that take us out of personal communications with people.
Absolutely.
Sometimes those things can save you time as well, on the flip side.
Yes, and they are designed, or should be designed, or we should use them to save time. But if you spend 2 hours reading your email that has nothing to do with your accomplishing something in life,
You're wasting time.
you're wasting time.
Right.
Well,
It
it's become a habit.
I'm like you said with there, and I like it. It even reads here. It says your smartphone may be the biggest productivity killer of all time. Most people just can't put the phone away. You know, the ones that they texting all the time. If your phone is connected online, the temptation to stay updated about almost everything is very high. You want to know, and you're always on the phone. You want to look at that as being, you know, if it's productivity being done, then it's a positive thing.
Yeah.
If it's just staying up to date on what's going on in the last few minutes, and then a few minutes later you're looking up this, that could be an issue. That could be a bad habit. And you want to be conscientious of that.
And I'm guilty of that. Over this last holiday, I was out of town at memorial services for my wife's sister, and I took my computer with me so I could work.
Wow.
Because there was going to be downtime.
Right.
And you know, some interactions that I couldn't do with family, that I could spend some time working productively.
Right.
But I have this thing on my phone where I can get news feeds,
Yeah.
because everybody else is in one room looking at the TV, and I can't get to the big TV because we only have at my mother-in-law's house one TV with cable.
Right.
The rest of them ain't no cable.
Right.
So what
you're
do
in a
I do
predicament.
when I should be working and sending out quotes and all of that? I decide I'm gonna listen to CNN.
Wow.
Cause I don't
You
know.
wasn't connected.
I don't know what
What's going on?
the Donald has done lately. So I wasted time.
Yeah.
He's doing the same thing. It ain't changed.
My.
So it was a production killer.
And that's what we have to be able to recognize, the difference between good habits and bad habits.
Absolutely, and that was a bad habit, and I let that get to me. Now, let's talk about for a quick minute something that we had a discussion about before we went on air, is multitasking and how it can. How many of you think you are a good multitasker?
Raise your hands up.
Yeah, raise your hand.
Raise your hands up.
Let's see
Wow,
some-
look at all that. Look at all
Yeah,
I'm gonna raise my hand. I'm not.
You're gonna waste your behind on.
Yeah, I had to
I
find
just-
that out.
Go
I had
ahead.
proposed a question when we talked about this earlier, and I brought it to Lisa's attention, and Leslie, we also mentioned it, talked about it also. I asked, I said, do you think that women are better multitaskers than men, or vice versa? And I was interested in hearing y'all answer to that.
What did you say, Liz?
I did say 100%. I think that women are better multitaskers than men. But I didn't know, I asked, was it a choice that you guys don't multitask like women do? I didn't get an answer on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think it's just excuse me. It's just a habit for women to multitask because we're doing multiple things at one time. That's the way it's always been. Take care of the children, fix the food. I'm just saying, and so you take it to work because it's at home. You're cleaning, you're doing things all at one time until you learn to separate it, and that includes, caring for your children,
Right.
fixing dinner, you doing homework.
Right.
All that is multitasking. You can't do that one at a time because it'll take too long. So you have to.
Because I don't even know if you choose to be a multitasker, but everybody's just demanding so much of your time at once. You're like, I gotta do it, and it all gotta get done.
Right, and it happens from that when you go to work and have a career. you tend to do 3 or 4 things at one time, or 5 and 6. So, you know, if you're on a job and you're doing it that way, they say, oh, I'm gonna take it to Lisa, because Lisa will do it. She'll do this. That's the way on your job, they would say, well, I'm gonna take it to Leslie, because Leslie will get it done when they want to put it off. So multitasking can break you or make you, really.
So Lisa, what I hear you say is that because it's something that's innate in you, and back to women versus men, that y'all have basically been doing that as an adult in your life, and it's something that's kind of come natural to you.
It comes natural.
Personally and professionally.
Mhm.
Okay.
Not saying that it's all good.
No. And there's exceptions to rules too.
But does that also become an expectation of the male in male relationships, or of all men towards women, that you can do more? So we tend
To expect more.
to expect more, and we
Ask
do
more.
less.
Yes.
You think that?
I do think
Some of y'all been out there like that?
Comments?
Let me
Opinions?
say hello to Roshan, Marcia, Eric, Leroy, Amos, Calvin, Isaac. Hey, Isaac Brazil, brother. Dolores, Neil, Roland, Donna, Daryl. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
We are talking about multitasking. And our cheat sheet says that only 2% of us can really multitask effectively. Do you think that's true or false, more or less? That only 2% of us can multitask effectively.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say yes, because when you're doing so many things, you tend to spread yourself thin to where you don't give your all in one or more of those tasks. You just kind of get it done. And so you're not giving your all. You're probably not putting your heart into it. It's not at its best, and we're not at our best. So yeah, I would say so.
So what I heard you say was that most of us are not in that 2%.
Most of us. I'm just going to speak for myself. I
I'm
don't know what Lisa can do.
What was the brother's name that said the legends in our own mind?
Right.
Yeah.
That
That may be applicable right in that area right there. Some people think they are, of the 2%, but you can't be of the 2% if it's just 2%.
And I'd like to ask the audience, the folks that are listening, let's see. Charlotte, hey Charlotte. Charlotte's one of my good friends. Police officer. I'm always nice to Charlotte. Daryl, Donna, Roland, I think I mentioned you guys already. Welcome. Do you guys feel that you're in the 2 percentile of those that are effective multitaskers? Or when you do attempt to be in that class, do so many other things go undone? If you're in that. Now, I consider myself a pretty good multitasker, but it's because I have practiced that. And I'm not as effective as I would like to be all the time.
Right.
Because I find myself, that just an example is even in my own kitchen. When I go in to get coffee, I will turn the water on the sink. It will run. I will go to the pantry to get the coffee and the filters. I will leave the door to the pantry open. I will come back, set the coffee on the table, water still running.
Right.
I will go to the other cabinet to get out a coffee cup. Water still running, door still open. And I see these things.
It's multitasking.
I'm multitasking.
On one task.
And someone is over in the corner going nuts. I already know.
Yeah, because then, I open the microwaves. I'm going to rewarm it when it comes to the pot, because it's not hot enough for me.
And the water is still running.
Water still running. So I'll take the pot, rinse it out. That's why I have it over. I'll turn that off, pour it in. I go to the refrigerator where I get the filtered water, but the door to the pantry is still open. The cabinet door is still open, and I haven't even put the coffee in the pot, the filter in. So then I'll stand there and get that done. Then I'll go back and close the door to the pantry.
So you're showing us that we really cannot complete a task when we multitask.
I think I'm multitasking. I'm
We
doing
can't
all
complete
these
You do
things.
all these things at one
And it's
time.
taking longer what you could have did in 15 minutes.
Just
It's taking
You
hours.
just done what he
just
just did.
following through to take the pot, rinse it out, turn the water on, pour it out, go get the water that's filtered, come back, pour it in the pot, take the filter in the coffee, pour it in, push the button, walk back, put that stuff up and close that closet, that pantry door. Wait till it finishes, pour it in my cup, get the sugar where I had the cabinet open,
Sure.
but then open it, put it in the microwave. Stand there in my 30 seconds, contemplating what am I going to do next.
So is multitask a good habit or a bad habit?
It can be a bad habit.
So what things we should do to change that? Because
Oh, I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
Just get a curator.
You get it.
You don't even have to
Just
worry
don't have to worry
about
about all
that.
that.
No.
Yeah. One of the things in our lesson here, and as we go through it, and I like the way this reads, and I'll quickly give mine, it says more is not necessarily better. In fact, in many cases, quality beats quantity.
Yeah.
Very important. Converse with, different from yours and mine, I think most husband and wife situation will agree. Men tend not to do as much multitasking as women because you are very good at it and it's been innate in you. I agree with that. Whereas with men, when we stay singly focused, which is what I was sharing with you earlier, we tend to see things from the beginning to the end, and I do that. I like to see it from the start to the finish. So what happens is I have a little bit more of a higher quality of completion when I finish that than doing a lot of things. Like I tell a lot of people, I like to do a one thing great than a lot of things well. And in my own aspect, in my own life, my own experience, I find that's been helpful for me, especially in my home. I stay singly focused. I can't use a lot of distractions. Too much distractions will throw me off. But I can do one thing extremely well. But if you give me too many things, and I'll still get it done. I'm not inept in it, but I don't do it as well. I'm not as effective in that area. And I thought that right there. You gotta ask you, is quantity better than quality?
Well, I have a question for my panel and for you. In relationship, when we are at home, should we multitask when asked or confronted or having direct communications with our significant other? Or should we continue to multitask? Example, football game on, I got the remote and somebody's talking in my ear. We call ourselves multitasking. But you're not being single of purpose, and we are making a conscious choice that the game is more important than our significant other. Wow. Do you think that happens a lot? Does it happen a lot to you all? Does it happen to you, David, Cynthia, Charlotte? Does it happen? I'm waiting.
I'm sure it happens to a lot of us, but I like what she asked earlier. Is there a solution or answer to that? And let's look at the last paragraph or last statement of that. It says, what? Focus on the things that bring the biggest reward or achievement is the greatest strategy.
Focus on the things that bring the biggest rewards or achievement in great.
So let's take that back to that question just asked about the game versus the wife listening.
I've been married 40 years this
understand.
coming Saturday.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Congratulations.
Now that's a congratulations.
40 years.
I know you haven't been married, but you got to clap for that one.
That's what we're striving for. That's
But let
it.
me tell you,
And he says happily married too. Don't forget that word.
well, because there's a lot of unhappiness in being married that long time, but you learn how to turn